The Power of Habit. Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business. By Charles Duhigg. The Habit Loop. How habit work. Habit is what we repeatedly do but are not born with it. It is a behavior acquired over time, partly or completely involuntarily. What we think, feel and get is just because of the developed habits. Our behavior enables us to use minimal conscious energy to complete our tasks. Habits can be developed by practicing and repeating any behavior. Laboratory experimentation on rats revealed that the basal ganglia cells of our brain, relied upon in our thinking process and decision-making, are responsible to store our habits or behaviors. Habits once formed work on a neurological loop called the habit loop that governs any habit. The habit loop consists of three elements: a cue, a routine, and a reward. Understanding them can help us in changing bad habits or forming good ones. Over the time, the habit loop becomes more and more automatic. The cue and reward works closely connected so that we are able to anticipate and willing to do something in the future. Our habits are encoded into the structure of our brain so that we are able to memorize them for long enough. People having neurological disorder lose the ability to access to the hundreds of habits they rely on every day. If the cues remain constant, the behavior or habits will occur unthinkingly. We might not remember the experiences developing our habits, but once they present in our brain they influence how we act unconsciously or without our realization. Habits can be good and bad. We need to think consciously what is good or bad for us, and then we can change our routines accordingly. We can overcome the bad habits by simply controlling the habit loop. The craving brain: how to create new habits. Developing a new habit requires a certain kind of cue and reward. And craving is what makes cues and reward work, powering the habit loop. According to human psychology, developing a habit requires two basic rules. First is to figure out simple and obvious cue, and second, to clearly define the rewards. Let us explain how cue, reward, and habit interact, how rewards work on neurochemical level and which parts of the brain are actually responsible to trigger new actions. Researchers observed a neurological activity on monkeys. They set a following habit loop: cue, different shapes on the screen; routine, touched the lever in order to execute the routine; and reward, a drop of juice. Once a reward was received, there was brain activity suggesting that monkey was experiencing happiness, that is, he liked the juice. This habit loop became more prominent and the habit became stronger. Afterwards, he started anticipating his reward as soon as he saw the cue. And when he didn't receive the reward or it was late, a neurological pattern associated with frustration and desire emerged inside the brain, that is craving. That is why habits are powerful, as they develop neurological cravings. And what makes a new habit is putting together a cue, a routine, and a reward, and then growing a craving that drives the loop. For instance, if we see tempting food or something that we love eating, it is difficult to resist, but as soon as we eat it, we satisfy our craving. We can say that craving is a crucial part of the formula that creates new habits. The golden rule of habit change: why transformation occurs. Old habits die hard, and in order to develop new habits, you need to change the old ones. You can change any habit by understanding the three-step loop that is the cue, the routine and the reward. Stick with the old cue, deliver the old reward, but have a newly formed routine. That is the most important golden rule of habit change. Alcoholism is more than just a habit, and those who become accustomed to chronic alcoholism find it very hard to retreat. Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, is very successful program because it sticks with the old cues and rewards to encourage alcoholics find new behaviors to overcome the causes leading them to become alcoholics. The people become alcoholics to avoid the problems they are facing in their lives, and alcohol allows them relief to forget their worries. AA provides such people with alternatives to drinking, like creating a new routine, to help people overcome any kind of bad habit. AA instills real belief in people to change their habits by joining groups where people share similar experiences. It is difficult for a person to change a particular habit solely, but if he is made to work in a group, it becomes easy to quit. Keystone Habits, or the Ballad of Paul O'Neill. Sometimes, there is just one habit you need to change to cause a chain reaction called keystone habit, which is so powerful that it can create a ripple effect, influencing how you work, eat, play, live, spend and communicate, igniting a process helping to transform the other habits over time. Keystone habits are not about becoming successful by making every single thing right. Rather, they are about identifying certain key points and changing them to cause a chain reaction. One of the best examples of implementing keystone habits to make a big difference is of Alcoa Company struggling on many fronts. Paul O'Neill, the newly appointed CEO of the company, focused on the safety of the workers, which was taken for granted by most of the companies, and it paid dividends for his company, as it started rising higher than it was ever before. In addition, his safety plan revolved around the habit loop, as he just identified a simple cue: injury of the workers. He adopted an automatic routine by making sure that every time a worker got injured, the president of the unit was responsible to report it to Paul O'Neill within 24 hours and devise a plan as to make sure that the injury never occurred again. Apart from that, he also made sure that people who followed this system were promoted, which was the reward. This is how keystone habits make a big difference, but they are quite tricky to identify. One of the most important aspects of keystone habits is the small wins, because they cause a domino effect and bring about a widespread change in other areas of life as well. Starbucks, and the habit of success. Among the keystone habits, willpower is the most effective one. Willpower is not considered as a habit but considered as self-discipline, helping people face hardships in life. Willpower can be turned into a habit by practicing it consistently. One of the best exponents of willpower is the Starbucks. The coffee store Starbucks makes sure that each employee working for it develops strong willpower. As a matter of fact, we are emotional people and we often find it hard to contain them. For instance, if a certain employee is working at Starbucks, he or she is likely to be scolded by one of the customers, where things go wrong. Being the representative of a well-reputed coffee store, its employee cannot yell back at the customer or reveal any kind of disgrace. In addition, willpower is like a muscle and you need to make sure that it is not used excessively, because if you do so, it will get tired and as a result, and you cannot focus on other important tasks. If you strengthen your willpower in one area of your life, it will have a positive impact on other as well. This willpower can become your habit as well, but you need to force yourself for that. For instance, if you want to do well academically, you have to exercise consistent self-discipline whether you like it or not. So the more you avoid giving in to your urges, the stronger willpower you will develop, and eventually, it will become an ingrained habit. The power of crisis. As a traditional rule pertaining to different types of organizations, people working at lower organizational hierarchy are not given importance in decision-making. There are many such instances where the juniors are not allowed to intervene in the matters of an organization if they do not have a right to. However, if they intervene, they may face retribution charges. Therefore, it is in their best interest to mind their own business, no matter how serious a situation is. Such practices lead to organizational crisis, leading to reforms in the best interest of a firm. During such instances, the entire management is fired, organizational amendments are made, and people working down the hierarchy are given permission to speak up or to contribute in decision-making process, and procedures are made transparent. Therefore, people once supposed to contribute to the matters of an organization are encouraged to contribute when things go wrong, and if the pitch is innovative, they are rewarded. Hence, According to leaders, such changes in organizations are not possible until crises occur. Sensible leaders wait for such kinds of crises to happen because they help them revamp an organization by taking effective measures. How Target knows what you want before you do. It is hard for people not to buy from beautifully arranged food articles upon entering a grocery store and going for the rest of the stuff later upon encounter. This is not surprising, as this is the outcome of a 2-decade research of the shoppers having almost a similar buying preference. But later, research revealed that the shoppers' preferences could be unique or different. Marketers study buying patterns of the customers to identify their needs and wants. For instance, Target company identified pregnant women and studied their buying behavior. For that, it sent coupons for baby products to pregnant women. In this relation, there is an important lesson for the marketers to learn, which is, when people undergo changes in life, they are likely to switch brands. For instance, when they are getting married, they change their preferences. Similarly, a pregnant woman will prefer buying all the things required for a newly born baby. Creating familiarity is one of the core aspects of marketing, as it makes people or customers buy the product. The reason they prefer familiarity is that they can relate to it. For example, when a new song is released, musicians make sure that it sounds somewhat familiar to the music listeners as to entice them to buy it. Therefore, the success of any new song depends on it being familiar to the listeners. Saddleback Church and the Montgomery bus boycott. Social habits are the reason why protests and revolutions take place. They are basically a collective standard behavior observed by a particular community or a society and are supposed to change according to the laws of a particular country, but certain habits are practiced commonly worldwide. Social habits are hard to detect initially, but over a period of certain time, they can be recognized and at the same time invoke social protests if leading a community towards downfall or something unacceptable as per the social norms. Social habits also have a power to drive powerful movements to bring an end to unacceptable collective behavior. The root of most of the movements comprise three-part process that, according to historians and sociologists, stem up over and over. Following is the three-part process that ignites movements. 1. The initiation of any movement is caused by social habits of friendship and close bonds between acquaintances. 2. Movements grow bigger because of habits that keep clans together. 3. Movements prolong because the leaders give its participants new habits, allowing them to create a fresh identity and feelings of ownership. Once these processes are fulfilled, a movement becomes stronger and stronger, reaching masses of people. For instance, as humans, our nature is always sympathetic towards those people who are close to us, friends and relatives. Initiating strong movements is related to our weak ties against a certain practice which is collectively unacceptable or violates the preset norms of a society. Peer pressure is also one of the causes for people to abate to social habits that spread through weak ties, and as a result, they get strengthened through communal expectations. The merger of strong friendship and weak ties of peer pressure initiates social change. The neurology of free will. There is a psychological condition which is known as sleep terror. A person suffering from this disorder kills someone while still asleep. The parts of his brain responsible for consciousness are not active when he is taking such an extreme measure, and he does not recognize at all that he is killing someone. Whereas, sleepwalking is entirely different, because people suffering from this problem do not kill others while walking in a state of unconsciousness. They are set free because their act of committing a murder takes place while they are in a state of unconsciousness. Further, a woman is held responsible for squandering her money in gambling. When the trial began, she raised a question that when a person committing a wicked crime like murder is set free by the jury, then why a gambler has to be held responsible for wasting her money. In this context, The argument is not justified because the person who kills while sleeping is completely unaware of his actions, and he does so due to his impaired mental condition, something which he cannot control, while the woman gambling is aware of her actions, because she is aware of the after effects, but she still refuses to abide by the law. The argument justifies that habits can be changed once you understand them. When you are aware of your habits, you can take effective measures to change them. Some of your habits are fixed and you repeat them, like eating, sleeping, making money and talking to your kids. These are the habits that you have to practice. But you can remake a habit, if a certain one can put you into deep trouble. Once that happens, the concept of power of habits becomes absorbable for you, and as a result, incites you to take an action in a positive direction, taking into exception you are not someone suffering from sleep terror. What we learned. What is the core message that we got from this book? Habit is what we repeatedly do but are not born with it. Habit is a behavior acquired over time, partly or completely involuntarily. What we think, feel and get is just because of the developed habits. Our behavior enables us to use minimal conscious energy to complete our tasks. Habits can be good and bad. They are powerful, but delicate. We need to think consciously what is good or bad for us, and then we can change our routines accordingly. Old habits die hard, and in order to develop new habits, you need to change the old ones. Willpower is one of most effective habits. The more you avoid giving in to your urges, the stronger willpower you will develop, and eventually, it will become an ingrained habit. As people are reluctant to go for something new, it is important to dress a new something in habits that are old, as to make it easier for them to accept it. Social habits are the reason why protests and revolutions take place. If the effects of a habit are adverse and they can put you in deep trouble, then you can remake it by taking effective measures.